on my phone and start tripping. I had a live earlier today. Shout out to Black Hop Fire Network. Had a dope show earlier. Shout out to Kami. Pregnant as all hell. Because I usually don't even say if somebody pregnant or not, because you could be wrong. People just be gaining weight. And if I'm wrong, I'm hilariously wrong. I can't keep that. Kami ain't pregnant. What are you talking about? Oops. But considering I'm kind of like a professional with this, more than y'all could ever know, I know pregnant when I see it. So shout out to Kami. Send her something to support. Part of building a team, a support team that loves one another, a family, tribe, a nation. You support one another when they need it. And honestly, be honest with you, that is not even second nature to me. Well, it is. It's in the DNA, as we know. But as far as how I was brought up, it was really kind of parasitic. You know what I mean? Not knowing certain things. The things I struggle with still to this day. You know, I'll forget something. And people are like, I'm mad at you when I do. And, you know, they go on this long litany of stuff. And I wasn't even really thinking about it like that. And sometimes people value your relationship with them more than you do. And that is a legitimate claim and a legitimate instance. That people will value your relationship more than you do and see it on a different level. And they'll hoard resentments of you based on that, based on their perception of the relationship. And you can feel the negative vibes and energy. And I'm kind of cognizant of those things. I'm very rarely off on those things. So as we say in the community, feeling some type of way, um, I be knowing. I be knowing. You feel some type of way? What happened? So I go on my mind and start to think what could they be mad at, and then I'll surmise what it is, and eventually if we talk, I'll pretty much know what it is. You know what I mean? Most times I'm right when I really think about it. When I have a discussion, a partner of mine will just text me. It's kind of off on one another, and I'm just like, so I don't know what's going on. So she read me the riot act. And the reality is we project a lot on the people. So she had been around a lot of conscious talent, you know, all the big names. And read into me what she saw in them. So all niggas is bad, you know how women are. And I'm like, nah, that's not true. And like I said, I've had ability to be able to decipher that as you get older. Excuse me, I'm a people person. So you deal with scarred, damaged individuals, and they'll place their mishaps with other men. I'm talking about women. On you, bros is just bros. We just gonna carry it like we carry it, whatever's whatever. Women put their personal relationships, their romantic relationships on every man they meet. I'll be doing that. I'm about to go Kevin Samuels on y'all. And like, sweetheart, we ain't doing all that. So, I'm the ex, I'm just the ex. I do what I do, I organize. And that's what I do. So like, you've had a bad breakup or 4 or 5 bad breakups, I ain't got nothing to do with that. So my partner, she was in the circle doing some of the stuff around here. A lot of things she wanted to do. I weren't quite prepared to do it yet. You know, I was like, you gotta do this, this, and the third, and it's like, nah, I'm not really in the space to do that. You're probably right, but I'm not in the space to do that just yet. So we gonna hold off on that. So we was missing quite a bit. There's certain things that she wanted to do, I didn't want to do, and we're trying to find the crux of the relationship. How do we move forward? Right? You do what you do, I do what I do, and everything's amicable. You know. And so read the riot act or whatever, and I'm like, I'm kind of heartless to the motherfucker. You know, he's an empath. Empaths are supposed to act like this. I'm kind of like a European witch. You know what I'm saying? But we hear narcissism when you hear about conscious folks, truth sayers, and it's really a persona on the video. You hit the live, and I have to have people interested in what I'm saying. I have to be thought provoking. I have to have different perspectives, different takes. You have some of the baseline common denominator information that most have. You spice in some little known mainstream information, right? And then so on and so forth. And getting to know someone, and it's like someone like myself, listening to videos, I give credit, man, to any information I get. It's only right. When we meet up, it's every day. It's only right. And I learned that from watching Malcolm. You know, Malcolm, the information, you know, teacher, Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he teaches us such and such. And so whenever I got something from somebody, I quote them. You know, we quote white folks. When motherfuckers talk, who supposed scholars and philosophers will quote white men all day long. That's the seal of approval, seal of validation and accreditation. Well, Thomas Sawyer said that rats and frogs can't have sex, so drink a lot and be married. You know, whatever the hell. People laugh at it and stuff like that, and they'll just smile with pride, and they know he's very well read and articulate in education. Well, I'm gonna quote my brothers. You know what I mean? The only time I quote a cracker is to use their words against them, like Brother Baines told Malcolm X in the movie. You gotta take everything the cracker tell you and use it against them. Give me liberty and give me death. I use that against the coons. And you have to do integration and the misinterpretation of integration. And I think it was successful apparatus. And what did Patrick Henry say? Give me freedom and give me death. Right, and that's what the fuck. Give me liberty, give me death. That's what the fuck he said. That's the fuck he did. And he got liberty. You understand? I mean, he's dead now. You know, he's been dead, but they'll put those perceptions on you. He's like, no, sweetheart, I'm not narcissistic at all. I was like, nothing about me that's narcissistic. Uh, because I mean, people will praise narcissistic people, but even just talking to me, speaking in terms of we, and in some of the things that we did, I very rarely say I. My wife maybe get a little bit of that, but I don't like to do that too much anyway because I don't want her to think I'm conceited because I'm not. But you know, we working on those different things, and we get information from people. Accredit them, give them their respect, their due respect, and know that you got this information from such and such. Keith talked about yesterday having read all those books. I ain't got the time to read all them books. So when I listened to the brother speak and read all that information, to show him the respect that he deserves of sitting down and reading this very needed information for our community, and then giving those lessons, and in the chat room, Lando and the rest of you all adding in, yeah, we take that. And I won't say it on the show because I've said it on the show, but when I talk to people, right, listen, I'm a contributor to Black Out Fire Network. Check that out. It may be too strong for you. It is straight up vodka, 16th century alcohol. It will kill your ass if you ain't ready. You got to get your hand in my pocket because they can barely handle me. I don't know if they can handle Black Fire Network. But if y'all can't handle me, you can't handle Black Fire Network. But certain bits and pieces of information, I'm able to give it to them in a way that they can take it. You know, when I first started, it was like, whoosh. I'm still kind of like that, but I've always been pragmatist. I've always been able to discern things to people. I was always able to talk to someone, be a people person. I can feel energy very well. Sometimes I run into certain people, I'm like, and and in others is like, you can take a little bit of this, and I go about my day, you know. But in any case, that's the introduction. Mr. X, get your hand in my pocket. Black Eye Fire Network, Export Sports Revolutionaries. Um, I'll go live on your ass at any time. That's the beauty of having a live button on the phone. But I am going to do something May 19th for Minister Malcolm. If everybody going to do anything on Malcolm X, is going to be your brother, Mr. X. Celebrating Malcolm X's birthday and the great works that he's done. And the beauty of uh, having great freedom fighters is one to play around and imagine what they would be if they lived to get to 50 or 60. You know, what position would they be in? What institutions would they have created? And the plight of our people, what would it look like? You know, if he made it to the United Nations and had those discussions. I don't want give too much uh, because really at this point, everything people write new books on Malcolm. I say it's 365 days in a year, right? I only have like 5 or 6 memories of said year, so you're gonna need other people that are around you that have memories, and that helps fill in your story. You can't give the entirety of your story. Other people who come around are gonna have days that like, oh, I remember you did this, and you're like, what? I did that? Yeah, man, you was wild and all that, and you start to go through the recesses of your mind and like, oh snap, I do remember that, and it brings back a whole memory, and it's another chapter of your story that's in there. You just got to find it. And so reading a lot of Malcolm's books. I haven't read all of Malcolm's books, but reading a lot of Malcolm's books is like you get other people and they can tell stories, and you're creating that Malcolm picture. For instance, this morning, like I said, y'all, I'm getting back in shape, and the brother out there playing ball and trying to step it up a notch, one more. I'm trying to lose this gut, and never had a gut before, so this is strange to me. I always had the little 6-pack, 4-pack, 3-pack, whatever. It was a pack of something, a pack of abs. Now it's a gut. And I see some brothers who about my height and their stomach is out. I know some guys, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to get like that because one, I know what my wife like, and I don't want to look the opposite of what my wife like. You don't want to be that. Um, and so I want to slim down, right? Get, look like in my prime. I got no gray hairs. I got one that pokes out every now and then, but for the most part, you see it's all dark right here. So I don't get cleaned up too much because I look too good. Like, I don't want to be conceited. Like I said, I'm not narcissistic, but your brother clean up nice. I can't be clean all the time. You know what I'm saying? I have 25 kids. Women will just be throwing it. I can't have that. Ruin my marriage and all that stuff, man. I'm a man, okay? I have chocolate. Don't give me chocolate, okay? Stay away from me. I rebuke you in the name of Ogun. But we were playing today, and then after the game, the last game, we were going to 15. We were down 10-4, right? And so we started coming back. And now my friend, this is my homie, Dominican brother, actually. And I got a few people I would consider part of the quote-unquote black and brown. We know collectively is on the black and brown coalition, but the outliers, I have a few outliers. And I know, we smart. We know that collectively there is no real coalition. But, you got some cats who roll with you for the most part uh, that are of, the Caribbean islands and whatnot. And came to my um, wedding, giving me free haircuts for 20 years. So, if you call that an ally, I don't know. I don't know what you call that. But no, but you know. We know the definition of a real ally, but I appreciate all them damn haircuts. I tell you that. It saved me thousands of dollars. Um, so we played. We came back down 10-4. I got going, hit a couple shots, and we ended up winning. So after the game, he's telling all these stories about me from the past. He's like, "Wow, he's amazing. You ain't seen nothing, man. What he used to do." And I don't even really remember what I used to be. And there's some memories there, and there's some days where I look pretty good. But you living in the here and now, you can't get consumed with the past. So trying to get back and trying to figure out what my body can do, what I can and can't do against certain things, and getting off the ground and all those different things. Because you're chasing your best self, which is behind you. Now, some guys, extend their prime, like the players today, because of the workout regimen, the pure oxygen they have access to, the diet supplements, the scientists. I mean, they spend like these guys make $100 million. They're spending like 5 or 10% of that money into their body. It's totally different than what it used to be. We talk about the '80s and all that. And that was probably the worst time in basketball in terms of taking care of your body. Guys smoked and drank at halftime. Cats was high and shit. You know, um, getting high at games, and you know, it was crazy back then. Motherfuckers a fight and then stay in the game. So the game has been cleaned up. Players from that era have had children. Those players are now in the NBA, so they've had privileged lifestyles. There's very few hood cats. Like the NBA was full of street cats. The NBA was full of street cats back in the day, '80s and '90s. You talked about Allen Iverson, Stephon Marbury, Lamar Odom, Ron Artest. All these guys was from New York in the projects, and they still hung around the projects. But now, those players from the '80s and '90s have had children, and their children get the best resources, so they're going to the NBA. Now you're getting more European players. You get more mulattoes. So these niggas be fucking white women. So the NBA has completely changed. In terms of talent, it's the best it's ever been. And I'm a pro geek. I got a match to the high science Zoe and Keith come with my basketball knowledge. Everybody can dribble, pass, and shoot. Everybody's effective. Everybody's a threat. In the '80s, there was guys on the team that just set picks, fought guys, could pass. They were specialist players, a lot more specialist players back during that time. So you got this guy, and you would have filling spots to complete a team. If you look at the old Bulls teams, it was Jordan Pippen, Grant, and role players. And actually, Grant was a role player as well. They all fit purposes, and it was all centered around Jordan. So in those discussions back in the day, they would say, Michael, maybe you could take less shots. You're taking 24, 25 shots. Maybe you break it down a little bit and get other guys involved. It's like, no, that's not how that works. Jordan is great because he's a volume shooter. And he brings that every night on top of all the other various things that he did. It's important that each player, my bad, I froze a little bit. It was important that every player brought what was needed to the team. That's how they were successful. And teams like that don't really exist now. Everybody can play. Everybody can play. And, the era certainly has changed. And so I'm bringing an old style of game because my game was molded in the early 2000s, in the late 90s. So I have an old style game. But, whatever direction that the league or basketball was going, I can make the adjustments and still be effective. So, um, as we're talking about basketball, this discussion is about the Hall of Fame and some of the finalists in the Hall of Fame. And I wanted to really deal with, you had Kobe. I've done a few shows on Kobe Bryant, Paul Pierce, Chris Webber. Chris Bosh, actually, is a finalist. Rick Adelman, a coach. Bill Russell, coach. And, Bill Russell. And it shows the greatness of our mind. And I also wanted to deal with a few other things, and I won't be on long. But you look at the greatness of Bill Russell, 9-time champion, and then coached a championship. And it's a Turk video that's on Facebook. You know, Turks, you know, Jews play both sides of the fence. So the Jews, right, will defend us so that when we inevitably attack them for, you know, like ruining our lives and the world and all that shit. Um, they'll have that liberal apparatus to say, wait a minute, look, we are we are friends of the African. Look, the things that we have given, the things that we have done. They sound like that cracker Donald Sterling. I think he's a Jew. Donald Sterling from the Clippers. You know, I give them clothes and I give them houses and cars and they live the lifestyle. Why would you blame Magic Johnson, the very handsome man who's been screwing women 20 years old for the last 30 years, and I pale in comparison to physical greatness, and because of a system of white supremacy, and I'm old and ugly, and I have all these resources, the only way I get women like you. Why would you bring that motherfucker to my stadium and to my games? You got that cracker, and then you got the others that talk about our plight from a very liberal perspective, very conservative in its dialogue about the black intellectual athletic athlete, and they were talking about black quarterbacks, and I may do a show about that as well. It's actually real good material. I can use it, but this is what I say in the community as well. I say that if our children are going to learn anything, they bring white folks down to teach them. I said no, black adults go around these crackers, get the information, then you come back and give it to our children. It's very important that the children, all the information the children get to improve their life, must be given by black people. Their perception and outlook of themselves will change, knowing that we're involved in every aspect of society, which we are, right? And it's deliberate that white folks do that because the superimpose that inferiority complex. But in any case, um, Bill Russell making it as an all-time great player, which the old heads, probably in the 50s, the guys in the 50s, 60s, will say, hey, Bill Russell's number one. If you're talking about wins and what he contributed to the game, he's number one. Some will say, others will say Kareem, and then as you get, go down, you get more modern. So the younger you get, the more modern you get. So 12-year-old is going to say LeBron James, a 55-year-old is going to say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Bill Russell. You have your era, which is that age group of you know 12 to 25, 12 to 30, where the greatest player in that time frame of your era, you're going to stick with as the best ever. So my frame of 12 to hell, Michael finished at 20 when I was 21, 22. So I'm going to say Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? But the 55-year-old who watched Dr. J, who watched Kareem, who seen Bill Russell, they're going to say, those players in that era. So, and all you can really say is the greatest player of said era, his era. Who dominated his era best. But you can't name one greatest player of all time because honestly, it's always the modern player. The average player in the NBA today can dominate all the other eras because they built on the previous eras. So the things the guys can do now, they couldn't do in the 50s and 60s. You send the worst player in the NBA back to the 50s, and he will have wilt numbers at any position. You know, so we have to be. I'm cool, brother. I'm here. What's up, General Mosquito? Um, so those players being put back into the previous eras will be dominant. You can make a case for Jordan because Jordan can play in this era. That '80s Jordan could play in this era because he was the most athletic. I think right in 1990 he was a all-time leading scorer in terms of average. He averaged about 33 a game going into 1991. And I think that was 6 seasons in. So 6 seasons, average-wise, as soon as he became eligible, the moment he became eligible in games to have all-time averages in scoring, he was number one. So he played point guard, and he mostly shot from mid-range. Not very many three-pointers. This league now, everybody's shooting 53 pointers. He would make the adjustment. You can't touch a guy. He can get to the basket and he can finish. This is during the time he was at his most athletic in the 80s. So you can take him out of that era, bring him in this era, he can still dominate. That's why they say, if I was playing in this league, I average 100. Well, Mike will probably average about 40 because he averaged 37 in the 80s. So you can make a case for him averaging triple double because the game is more sleek and slender. There's no grapplers in the league. It's not an alligator pit in the paint. If you look at highlights from the 80s when someone shoots a shot, the entirety of the team, both teams are trying to get rebounds. Nowadays, there really aren't any offensive rebounds. Guys are all shooters, so everybody's spread out. So once the shot goes up, everybody's getting back. This is much quicker pace, a lot more shots, a lot more possessions. Um, there were a time where half the league walked the ball up, got into sets, called plays for each position. They don't do that no more. They play. We have basketball acumen. There are plays called, but most times they want the free willing. They realize that the pickup games amongst NBA players are free willing and carefree and actually really good basketball. Guys play with a lot more confidence. So they say, hell, we'll make that the NBA. Instead of coming in and having a point guard at the top and the other players surrounding him and running plays and sets and all this other stuff and having all this stress, just let them play. Just let them develop, let them grow. And like I said, it wasn't like that back then. Magic had the ball. Wasn't no everybody bringing the ball down. You look at the Lakers now; they got about 5 or 6 guards who can bring the ball down and create plays and create offense for themselves or others. Back then, it was Magic. Magic hunted down the ball. Give me the ball. Go. I'll get it to you. And players did that because they know Magic. The first thing was finding his teammates. So they, just like it is with LeBron, guys get 7, 8 years in the league and wanted the ring. And man, I want to go to LA. I want to play with Magic. Bob McAdoo, you know, hey, Sam Perkins, I want to play with Magic. I done did my thing individually. Okay, it looks like I'm not going to beat Magic or Mike. So if you can't beat him, join him. And I can't play with Mike because Mike on some other shit. Mike trying to score 1,000 points in a game. So I'm going to go ahead and play with Magic. And so they go Magic, get the rebound steal, they get the ball to Magic, they run the floor, Magic, boop, boop, right back to him. Say, hey, I can do this all day. Get the ball to Magic, run the floor, he'll find you. But nowadays, everybody is Magic Johnson. When you look at the best players of that era, you're seeing the future of the NBA. And then you combine guys. Because what happens is the children watch the most talented players. They mimic the best players of their era. So when I growing up, I'm watching Tracy McGrady, I'm watching Jason Kidd, I'm watching Tim Hardaway, I'm watching Anthony Hardy, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, and watching these great players. I want to mold all their skills into me. So there's nowhere you can force me that I can't be effective. So I'm watching post plays and post moves with Shaquille O'Neal, Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, running the screen and roll like Malone, passing out double teams like Charles Barkley, getting the spots and scoring like Mike, or dribbling like Kobe, or even Allen Iverson, shooting like Reggie Miller. And I go into the time that I was watching the NBA regularly. I just wanted to be effective everywhere. So all the players, the best players, did the same thing. Let me merge everybody's talents into my one, put hours into the game, and when I put those hours into the game, um, you know, my value in stock is going to rise, and so everybody has to meet this level. So the specialist player disappears because if you're just a three-point shooter, and that's all I do is shoot three-pointers, well, you were good in the 80s and 90s, but nowadays everybody can shoot. So what else is that you can do? And if you only can shoot, you better be damn. I mean, you got to be at 55% of it at a clip in terms of making your shots. You got to be able to handle the ball. Got to be able to make pocket passes. Um, you know, you got to be effective in other things because once the ball gets moving, you got to be able to make that next pass. And guys are jumping in the air, spinning around, and throwing cross-court passes. This is Jason Kidd stuff. This is stuff Jason Kidd used to do. And now scoring guards can do that. They can jump in the air and make a behind the back pass. I can never do that. I never was a behind the back pass guy because I didn't like having turnovers. But you look at it, the Hall of Fame to go back and Bill Russell and the intellectualism because the players set the tone in terms of the type of style that is being utilized in any era, and any period. So Um, Russell basically having his reign during the civil rights movement, the most turbulent times of America. You know, they're winning championships and brothers are getting hung. We still getting hung, but brothers were getting hung. Civil rights movement was going on. People were getting murdered. During that time, there was a black consciousness permeating through America. So athletes at least made gestures during that time, in a very violent time, about civil rights and blacks' purpose and eliminating segregation and all that other stuff, which we have the inside information now that we didn't then. Armor the state, connected with Jews, so on and so forth. But in terms of the compare and contrast, you can still see that when the athlete steps up and stands up for social justice, he's still demonized and demoralized. We've seen that with Kaepernick, and Darren Muhammad does an excellent job in breaking down the Kaepernick situation. The man's not broke; he's still rich. He's associating with the state. He's been quiet the entirety of the time he's been out of the NFL. No one knows what he's doing, and he's a mulatto. So, uh, connecting with Black Lives Matter, had never shown any types of form of being conscious. And granted, that can happen. I'm an example of that, brothers and sisters. I am an example of that. Having minute consciousness, but living in the cave for years. You know what I'm saying? So, and then having that switch flipped. It could have happened to him, but when you're talking about $1 billion business in the National Football League, these things are comprised. You know what I'm saying? You don't necessarily get conscious and then go in this direction. When you do, um, those who have done it, they're completely off the grid. Kyrie Irving is going in that direction. He is doing certain things, trying to put his money where his mouth is. He's learning more and more. He's following certain conscious individuals, and I'm sure he's having meetings with them and stuff like that. Very knowledgeable young man. Uh, I want to say he's from Australia. Go figure. Um, and so he's moving in the right direction. Whatever we can get from these individuals, I like. Irritated Genie said something, and I've said this before. He said something very poignant. He said, "We don't need you to talk. Let the ground troops, the grassroots organizations, do that for you, and you fund them so that they can be sustained and they can continue to exist." Black people have had 40,000 black nationalist, black revolutionary organizations since the advent of America. 40,000. None of them still exist. There's a new organization popping up every day. Neely Fuller deals with that. New organization popping up every day. But unless you can fund these people so that this is their job and they can feed their family, grow the family, because you have to have a line, a bloodline of revolutionaries. You can't be the revolutionary and everybody around your house is a coon. Then you having coon children. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't work. We starting all over. We constantly hitting the reset button, starting all over again. No, so you have to Africanize your house, Africanize your lifestyle, and it costs. Vegan meals. I'm not completely vegan, but I'm trying to inculcate vegan meals in my diet. I have a sister that makes them. It's $20 a pop. A vegan cookie, one damn big cookie, is $3. The Chips Ahoy cookies with 20 of them is $3, $3.99. So it costs a lot more to live a healthy lifestyle, and those things need to be subsidized. Our people need to be on that diet, and so the importance of cooperative economics and the importance of entertainers, sports figures, having audiences with them, telling, listen, this is, you ain't got to do Instagram Black Power shit, nigga. We talking about your money. Let's deal with your accountant, the people around you. Black yourself up. Everybody around you white, bro. Because our people need jobs. We're lawyers, we're accountants, we're all those things. Everything that you need, we are. We just need you to hire us. Then those that you hire and yourself subsidize the grassroots groups. Then we're in a community. Now we have an agenda to take over our community, and we don't have to worry about getting fired from the crackers job because we working for you. So you got the agenda, we got the agenda. Mike Tyson gave, I think he had like 5 G's in his pocket and gave it to one of the Nation of Islam brothers. They were just talking about some of the things they were doing for the youth. And Mike is 2021 when he's heavyweight champion. He's a kid, but he appreciated that the brothers were trying to do something for the young men because there was nothing around for him. There was nothing around from him, and he got into the gangs, violence, and all this craziness and shit like that, and then had to go up there and fuck with that crazy cracker. And that's why he loved white folks so much too. You know what I'm saying? But he just appreciated, yeah, I wish this was around when I had it, when I was out and about living crazy. And the white folks saved me, Mike. But he appreciated that. And so Mike just gave you the cash money. Boom, take that with you. And it's like the strip club money that y'all get, take about 20% of that. Find out grassroots organizations really about that life. Talk to the people in charge. Daniel Kaluuya said he had an 8-hour meeting with Fred Hampton Jr. 8 hours. We talking revolution here. 8 hours, motherfuckers. We gonna sit here. You trying to play my daddy, nigga? 8 hours. Where you going? You ain't going. You ain't got nowhere to go. You ain't got nowhere to go. You an actor, nigga. Your project you doing right now is using the Black Messiah. You read 8 hours. I cannot imagine talking to somebody for 8 hours. But when you do that, when you do it, that's what you do. Nigga, we going over everything. We going over everything. I want to make sure you're legitimate. I want to see previous work, what your future plans are, what we can do. Boom. This is just like we do when we go into the crackers banks and beg and plead for them to finance our liberation by giving us money so we can start our businesses. Nigga, you ain't leaving until I'm sold, and then I'll hit the button to get you this money. But you go in that white bank, you'll stay in there all day so that you can get that loan. The same thing with these athletes. And more guys are being hip and understanding, I need to put my money where my mouth is. And these contracts are going up. They're skyrocketing. The best players are making 150, 200. Same thing with baseball. We need to get our brothers and sisters back into baseball. We don't play baseball no more really like that. And they ain't got no, my wife just came home. They don't got no salary cap. So they about to make $300 million. And it's all got to be strategy. Strategy. Military science is more than one way to skin a cat. And so to go back to the science of not the science, but the intellectual side of sports, that a black player can not only, Bill Russell, coach, but he can play and they can win. Now, we do that in men's leagues all day long. But he's going in and getting recognized possibly as a coach. That's huge because, again, like I talked about with the two major sports, blacks aren't given the intellectual jobs, the drafting, the coaching jobs, the strategist jobs. We're labeled as athletic. See, we still the slaves on the plantation. Take the mind, keep the body. Take the mind, keep the body. Oh, nigga, you was a beast to be some type of animal when they're actually the animals. There's that projection of the shit that they do. And you can run fast, and you're strong, and you can do all these miraculous things. We'll have Billy here. How you doing, man? I'm gonna lie. We'll have Billy here play quarterback, and he'll get you the ball. Coach, I can play quarterback too. I can actually throw the ball to myself. I'm that fast. No, we can't have that now. I know you can play a few different positions. We got you playing linebacker and cornerback and safety and all that. But we're going to have Billy do that. I had that happen to me. When I was in Pop Warner, I played 1 year. It was so racist. And the fact that I didn't know 10-year-olds get hit that hard. And so at 10 years old, I decided that I never wanted to get hit like that ever again no more. So I just play like the 1 year, especially when it's cold. I live in Northeast United States, and it's cold, and when they hit you, it hurts more. So I just played the 1 year, but in practice, I could do everything. He put me at quarterback, told the kid to go long. I threw it, overthrew him. But damn, he quarterback, play tight end, play defense. Even though I like tackling, I was like Deion Sanders. It was a business decision because I was really skinny, and I just said, "Give me the ball, and I'll make it happen." And in practice, like the team couldn't tackle me. Like I had to allow them to tackle me. Sometimes we would call plays where I absolutely was going to get tackled, so they had me run up the middle. But if there was a hole, we had girls on the team. The girls were tackles and tight ends. Those are blockers. And I would still score touchdowns in practice. There's touchdowns in practice. That's an oxymoron, right? You can't score a touchdown in practice. But I would do what is it? Come game time, wouldn't get no burn. If I got the ball and didn't score a touchdown the first time I got the ball, I was on the bench the rest of the game. So I dealt with that. You fast and athletic and all that, but when the games start, uh, uh, so they do the athletic thing, and the players can do the athletic thing. But if you quarterback, you thinking now. You thinking about the linemen. You thinking about the checks. You thinking about the receiving options. You're thinking about down and distance, what possibly you can be setting up, and they had always given those features to the Bradys and the Breezes and the Mannings, the Marinos, so on and so forth. So it was great when they excelled and played at a high level intellectually, and the announcers would get on code. Everybody, this is white folks getting on code, would emphasize that it was the intellectual capacity of a Manning, of a Brady, that couldn't be defeated. You know, Brady, fucking bastard. Oh, I hate Tom Brady. God damn, if there was a white Jesus, the white Jesus who does this is Tom Brady. How the fuck does he do it? I don't know. God damn. People don't leave from a team. When you 87 years old and you leave the team that you was with and won Super Bowls with, you don't fucking go to a new team in the first year and win the goddamn Super Bowl. You don't do shit like that. Fuck, I hate that guy. But it makes it worse, because Lamar Jackson is like the real Jesus, but come playoff time, he's been choking, early in his career. And it hurts the argument because they're always going to have, oh, Brady, 7 championships and the things that he's done and the highlights, and then you got the interviews where you saw the linebacker and all that. And then Lamar Jackson, like, I was a quarterback. I played quarterback all my life, and the dude's open. I just passed it to him. They did this with Mike Vick like 10 years ago. John Gruden's uh, bus cut, camp, trip, scout bus, I don't know, whatever thing he had. But, excuse me, he would have players come on his bus and interview him. And he would have quarterbacks most specifically. And Gruden was a offensive coordinator guy. I think he's still coaching now. And he was known for his comprehensive and specific, overly complicated play calling. And it sounded like the Pythagorean theorem. And so we have these high intellectual conversations and discussions with the quarterbacks. As you got you got the double A gap blitz here, right between the guard and tackle. It's 3rd and 6. What you got? You got the slant or the post. Where do you shift your line back, offensive lineman? What's the call and what's the checks on this? And the quarterbacks be like, well, yeah, I would blah 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 blah. And they have this discussion. He had Mike Vick on there, and it's just a conversation. Oh man, you threw that ball 60 yards off the back foot, man. That was crazy. You always been able to throw like that? Yeah, I've been strong, man. I mean, it's amazing how you've been running. I mean, you're a little older now, but you still getting around that corner. It was a totally different conversation. So why don't you ask him about the play calls that he calls in the huddle? What's his favorite play? What checks he has? Where does he see the safety? Does the safety come down? Does he know it's a run blitz or it's going to be a zone blitz from the other side? Why you ask him all that shit? You see, so the NFL has always been a very racist. I mean, you have a society, all of society that's racist. But when you look at the sports, you find these microcosms. And to go back to Russell, I think that obviously having Kobe and Michael Jordan presenting him, that's a done deal. You got other guys, Chris Webber and Chris Bosh. I don't think they're Hall of Famers like that, but it's not the NBA Hall of Fame, it's the Basketball Hall of Fame. But even still, Michael Cooper, known for his defense in the '80s, he may get in because of the 5 titles and certain. So Robert Horry may get a look because he got 7 titles, but he's always been like the 5th guy or whatever. But clutch in what he did. The story really, I think, because of the quote-unquote civil rights icon that is Bill Russell, but to even have that level of superstardom going against Wilt and beating Wilt, even though Wilt was giving him 50 and 60 points, he's still winning. And people forget, he'll throw in 30 and 20. Wilt got 60 and 25. Russell got 25 and 25. And the Celtics win. And they kept beating Wilt Chamberlain. If you want to talk about somebody that's narcissistic, Wilt Chamberlain was a bastard. But he was a damn good interview. Look back at Wilt Chamberlain's interviews. He's a damn good, very entertaining brother. But a dick nonetheless, who only felt that white women was worth his time because they had the intellectual capacity. He thought all black women were ghetto and ratchet and shit. And this is in the 60s. This is the 60s, where, we know our women was much more sophisticated than at that time. Yeah, you had your ratchets and all that other stuff. But unfortunately, we are better as you go backwards. We get more money and we become dumber. But in terms of, our personality, our morals, our fight for liberation, which helped, the segregation helped, because we all knew who the enemy was. So when you say no niggas allowed, niggas can't drink here, you pretty much know who your enemy is. Yeah, it's pretty, you got the coons there, but you know what your enemy is. And now it's much harder to convince brothers that we're suffering from racial attacks on a day-to-day basis. But Russell getting in as a head coach proves that not only are we the creators of the game, the interpreters of the game, the analysts of the games, the players of the games, the rule constructors of the game, the referees, officials of the games, the administrators of the game, announcers, we can fill all spots. In America, they have you presume, hey, these are for whites, these are for blacks. When Snoop did the analysts and the analyzing of Roy Jones and Mike Tyson, people enjoyed it because it was something fresh and new, because white folks they're so plain, they're so robotic. You can anticipate what they say. But Snoop is analyzing like he watching the fight at home. Oh shit, Mike, goddamn. Oh Roy, get out, nigga, run. He's like, people laughing. And it's funny because that's what we would say. Watching, I mean, most of us watch. If you watch the fight, you seen one how incredibly strong Mike Tyson still is, and that you really didn't want to see Roy Jones get hurt because he had been knocked out. I mean, sleep about 4 or 5 times in his career recently. I mean, just out, just like that. He still asleep right now. But us, doing these things at a high level, white folks want to either stuff it down or control it completely, because they know the inherent greatness that we have, and they don't want us to realize that. So you can have a few that know their greatness and get their quote unquote worth. That's fine. It's a handful of blacks out of 50 million that are operating like that. Certainly they don't like anybody operating like that, but it's better than 50 million blacks saying, fuck this, fuck this. You know, that's something different. So Russell getting enshrined, and let's understand, this is white folks. This is Greek shit. This is us, wanting their recognition and love and appreciation. Terrell Owens and went through this a few years ago with his bout with the Hall of Fame and not being first ballot. A lot of these guys won't be first ballot. Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett, I think Will Garnett having won the title with the Celtics probably solidified that. Tim Duncan, you can't deny that. Kobe, you can't deny that. So you know who are going to be the first round guys, at least those three. But Russell having already been as a player and then now getting recognized as a coach, coach with the Sonics and coach with the Celtics, and him and Larry Bird and Magic all said they said they had to stop coaching because these guys it wasn't the same. These are superstars, Hall of Famers that have a high level expectation, and they couldn't really deal with just ass players who really felt and were overprivileged and spoiled. It's like, bruh, most of these teams comprised of black players. Why are you spoiled? You know what the fuck been going on? You know what the fuck is still going on? You got your Cadillac and white women and blow. Nigga, is you crazy? Like, is you crazy? Hell, Larry Bird probably said that shit too, but I know Magic and Bill Russell felt that way. But in any case, shout out to the Hall of Fame inductees or finalists. I don't know if they've been enshrined yet or inducted yet in terms of the votes. If you enjoyed the show, Cash App, MisterxR for support is on the description. As I talked about, us monetizing all of our skills and using what we do own, our consciousness is the economic base. As I said, there's certain things that our community needs, our people need, and it costs. Revolutions cost. Not just guns and bullets, but the psychological return to Africa. Some of us, as Marcus Garvey said, we don't want to take all of y'all back because your niggas ain't good here and you won't be good in Africa. But to prepare those who are looking to go, have ideas to work economically with our people on the continent, to find good Africans globally is hard. We're talking about finding good white allies. To find good nigga, it's hard. It's hard. There was a couple brothers DMing me on the continent, hungry, looking for a job. I tried to give them a job. They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do it. So we got the same problem there as we got here. Some brothers who got opportunity to work and don't want it. They want to do what they want to do. All right, you want to be broke. You want to be hungry. So, we doing things. I'm a man of many hats. So that being said, at Sports Revolutionaries, May 19th, we doing the Malcolm X thing, man. It's gonna be dope. I may have a special interview. Probably the next week or a few days or whatever. I'm trying to get that set up, and I'll let you know who that is. Some of the conscious elders. I give them some real dope information. So, that being said, peace, love, and light. It's your man, Mr. X.